Okay, welcome back to the Monday Postcast. I'm Maddie Plale. This week I'm joined by Tom Siegel, James Plale. This week I'm joined by Tom Siegel, James Hill and Paul Binfield from Paddy Power. We've started having a look back on Goodwood and also a look forward to where the key contenders are going to go now. We've got to talk about Batash. He put in an absolutely breathtaking performance in the King George Stakes. He's got to be a Group 1 winner in waiting, hasn't he? Binners, how does he compare to Lady Aurelia in the Nunthorpe market? Can you dig that one out for us?
I can indeed, Maddie. And in fact, since Goodwood, Lady Aurelia has hardened at the front end of the market. Yeah, she is now 6-4 favourite. Immediately after the race, she was 7-4 favourite, and we went Batash 2-1. He's still on that price, and then it's 10 Marsha, 12 Profitable, and 14 Bar. But the front two really dominating the market after Batash's whitewash at Goodwood last week.
I was really, really, really taken by his performance. I know he's a 3-year-old, and we talked about how these 3-year-olds have done a lot better against the older sprinters, but I just think he could be something special now. He's got his act together. Tom, do you agree?
Yeah, totally. I think he's a superstar over 5 furlongs. Funny sort of distance, but not too many of our greatest horses ever run over 5 furlongs, but I thought he was sensational. I think he's really, really good. I remember I bumped into Charlie Hills before Royal Ascot last year, and he told me that Batash was the fastest horse he's ever had in his yard.
And he had Muharrar as well.
He had Muharrar at the time. He'd said the fastest horse he's ever had anything to do with. I promptly went and had my fortune on it to win the Windsor Castle, and then finished 15th and never won another race that season. So I was sort of on the back foot for him to see him come back to where he is now. But obviously being gelded and sorting out his stalls problems has totally transformed him, and why he drifted on whenever it was Friday to whatever price he was amazing. I mean, I thought at the start of the week, I thought he was one of the standout bets of the week, and he was 7-4, 2-1 in the morning. And he was like 5 or 6-1 on the exchanges, 5 minutes before the off. I couldn't work it out, but there we are. They got it wrong for once.
And what do you think Nunthorpe going forward? Do you think he's the one to beat?
I just think I just don't trust York ground for any of these horses.
I don't think you trust anyone, do you?
No, I do. I trust lots of things, but York's it's a funny track. It's definitely a specialist track. I wouldn't be so keen on Lady Aurelia there. I mean, if you look, I'm a big one for Scat Daddy at Ascot. His side, but both her best runs have been at Ascot by a mile. She wasn't very impressive at Deauville last year. She was like, according to Racing Post Races, a good, £20 below her best. £15 below her best. Would I trust her if it rained at York? No. If it was fast ground, I think both of them are fine. But it's shifty ground there. They've very sandy. Whether I don't know, it could throw an upset. I mean, of the two, I prefer Batash definitely, but it's York, so I wouldn't be looking at either of them at a short price. Not now, anyway.
Okay. What about you, Jimmy? Are you a Batash fan?
Yeah, I'm a Batash man. Yeah, I was very, very impressed with him at Goodwood. Couldn't believe he went off at such a big price. He's just got the more recent form. He seems to be improving rapidly. Lady Aurelia we haven't seen for a while. I mean, she was so impressive in the King's Stand, but she was impressive the year before in the Queen Mary. She didn't really go on from that. She didn't win that well at Deauville. She got beaten at Newmarket.
Do you think she just goes over the top, like she trained for one race and then that could be it, or do you think she could do an Acapulco and run really well in the
and get beat? Yeah, she could definitely do that.
She still ran well though.
Yeah. I mean, she definitely could do that. There's no problem.
She was getting a massive allowance, wasn't she?
Should have won that. If she was at her Ascot form, she would have won that.
Yeah.
So you think Batash will win the Nunthorpe? Nothing from lower in the betting?
What are the prices, Binners? You're there.
Yeah, can we have a few more? Because I think you just gave us a top sort of 2 or 3, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. And hot in after this is the Jacques Lamara, if you want to go back to that. But we've got 6-4 Lady Aurelia, 2 Batash, 10 Marcia, 12 Profitable, 14 Muthmere, 20 Gold Dream, Take Cover, Washington DC, who saved the layers a lot of capital last week, and 25 Bar.
Okay, back to Jimmy. So do you sort of think the older sprinters are much of a muchness and you want to be with these 3-year-olds?
Yeah, I mean, these 2 3-year-olds, I think, Caravaggio getting beaten in his last 2 starts recently proves it's not always easy for the 3-year-olds. So I think that makes it even more impressive how well Lady Aurelia and Batash have done. And Harry Angel, I mean, I'm not sure he's entered, is he? But if he was supplemented, what a race that would be if he ran in the race as well. So those 3 real stars. The old horses, I think, are good, are Profitable and Marsha. Once again, proved themselves to be very good, solid sprinters, but they're not in the same class as Lady Aurelia Batash.
Perhaps they're just something a bit special. You mentioned Caravaggio there. Of course, he disappointed again in the Prix Maurice de Geese at the weekend. What did everyone make of that race? Obviously, Brando was the winner. Good to see for Kevin Ryan, who's had a tricky season. Tom, what do you think they do with Caravaggio now? They can't go to the Everest on the back of that, can they?
I've had long discussions with members of a couple of guys I know at the Coolmore about Caravaggio. They cannot work out what's gone wrong. Personally, I think he had Aidan suggested before Ascot that he was building him up for a long season that involved Australia later on. Now, I think he probably went to Ascot and he won at Ascot when he wasn't quite at his very best, despite that being his best form. And I think he went through the barrier there. I think he's had enough now. I think he doesn't really enjoy it. The last twice, he's missed the break. He's been pushed along. Very laboured, hasn't he? Pushed along. I just think there's something. Now, it could be, I'm going to revert to this sire pedigree thing. He's a Scat Daddy, best form at Ascot again. Maybe he, like a lot of them, Scat Daddy has a terrible record as a sire, apart from at Ascot. And so maybe that's another factor that's pretty, sort of touchy-feely. I'm not sure that's certainly the case, but I just think that, I think he hurt himself. I think he had to. The time at Ascot was very good, but the final furlong was very slow. They went very hard for a long way, and I just think he probably went through the pain barrier there, and he doesn't want to do it anymore.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Go on, Jimmy.
Well, just asking Tom, do you not think he might need possibly a step up in trip? I know he went an extra half furlong this time. He's finishing his races off pretty well still.
Yeah, I'm sure a step up and trip would help him, but if he's a very good horse, you travel at any trip, Jimmy. Don't you think? If he was a superstar horse, he wouldn't be pushed along.
Well, they said he was the fastest they'd ever had, and he's definitely not that anymore. He
wouldn't look like the slowest horse in the de Geese, did he? Because at the start, there was a lot of average horses in there, and he couldn't go with any of them. Including his stablemate, who I'm told he beats 55 lengths on the gallops every week. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I get that, yes, maybe the Breeders' Cup Mile is a race they should have in mind for him. But for me, I just don't see it anymore. I don't see it. I mean, at Ascot, I think maybe the race conspired in his favour simply because the two Godolphin horses went at it too quickly and the Pacemaker Intelligence Cross sort of set it up for him. But since then, I'm not seeing it at all. I'm not seeing any signs of brilliance, whatever trip he's run over.
No, and you can't blame you either. On the back of what he did the other day, you can't see him winning anything.
I don't think so.
We're talking about the French racing, so we might as well just quickly nip back to that Jacques Lamar betting, where hopefully we can see the Churchill and Ribchester duel spinners. Have you got it for us?
Yeah, no duel on the Downs, but we'll have a rumble at the Riviera.
Hey, very good. Did you get that one? Did you just think of that?
Actually, I had a press release prepared before this, so I'm just plagiarising myself. But anyway, we're 7-4 Churchill and Ribchester. We can't separate them. Then we're 7-2 Elwood Care, who's short, quite a bit shorter now with the news about the Bravido, and then it's 12-1 Thundersnow, 16 Barney Roy, and 25 Bar.
Quite like the sound of that 12-1 Thundersnow.
Blimey, 16-1 Barney Roy. If he's not running, is he?
No, he should be going to the Juddmonte, wouldn't he?
I hope so. But if he was running, he can't be 16-1, can he?
Right, who would you choose to win in the duel on the Downs that is no longer on the Downs, Tom?
Neither of them. Neither of them. No, you've got to find something to beat them. I mean, you can't back Churchill in it, I don't think, after his run at Ascot. What do you do with Ribchester now after that run? I'm sure.
They've said he's bouncing at home, but I'd be a little concerned after a race like that. Of course you are.
Do you want to back him at, well, I don't know, what price did you say? 2-1 there?
7-4 joint.
7-4 now. Why would you back him now at 7-4? You get bigger than that on the day, I would imagine. So look, I think Ribchester's an excellent horse, top class racehorse. I'm quite prepared to see him win, but I wouldn't back him at 7-4 after that. Alwuker, he's had issues, hasn't he?
He's lost since, hasn't he?
He got beat. He got beat. He had an injury. I don't know. Farber might have another one. The one that was supposed to run in the Lennox or whatever race it was on Saturday, but got pulled out later. No, not that one. Tujamor or something. I can't remember what it's called now, but I think that's an interesting horse going forward. I think that should have perhaps won the Jean Prat last time. I'll remember its name in a minute. I'm useless at names. But I think he's an interesting horse. I noticed he wasn't even in the betting, but Barney Roy turned up at 16-1. He's the best colt. Surely he is. And I mean, but if he clearly he's that price because he's probably not likely to turn up. The name of that horse, I've remembered it. Tray Floor.
Yes.
Prais, new word floor.
Okay, Jimmy, what do you reckon? Can you split them, or would you be looking elsewhere as well?
I think you've got to try and look elsewhere. I mean, as I was saying, I think they're the best of a poor bunch at the moment. So you've got to try and look for something that might kind of pop up. It's a difficult one they've got with Barney Roy, isn't it? Because, I mean, he's clearly proven to be the most consistent, the most impressive miler this season. But he's also proven that he gets in a mile and a quarter.
Maybe even further.
And he was so close to winning a Group 1 over that trip. They've got to have another go at that distance. And yet, they miss the Mauer if they go to York. So it's not an easy one. I mean, in terms of the Mauer, I'd be willing to give Auerker another chance. I thought he ran a very good race from the back in the Guineas. I know he's had his problems since, but both Ribchester and Churchill have also had problems. So give Auerker another chance, I'd say.
Okay, we're going to move on to the 2-year-olds now. Expert Eye put in an absolutely amazing performance. I'm sure later on when I ask your personal highlights of Goodwood, he'll probably be involved in a lot of them. Do we think he's going to win next year's 2,000 Guineas? Binners, what price is he for that?
Yeah, well, the bookies do, Maddie. We immediately slashed him to 5-1 favourite for the 2,000 Guineas after his impressive success at Goodwood. He's now 4-1 favourite, so the punters have carried on going in for him. Gustav Klimt, who probably runs in the Phoenix on Sunday, is 7-1. Then it's 12 to Pentagon, 20 Beckford and DXB, another Goodwood winner, 25 Verbal Dexterity, Amadeo Modigliani, and 33 Bar.
Very well negotiated there, Binners. Tom, thanks. Tom, you're a big fan of pedigrees. I think Expert Eye's by acclamation, isn't he? So he's going to have to book some sort of trend there if he's to be a superstar.
I wouldn't be backing an acclamation to beat Galileos and Dubawi's over a mile, not very often. That would be a right outcross. He's a really good
I'm getting to know you all right, aren't I?
You are. You're doing well. You're doing well. You worked me out a long time ago. You go through acclamation's progeny, and not very many of them are top class milers. Equiano, Acclaim, Marsha. It's very, very hard to find a miler. Harbour Watch was a good miler, clearly, but he wasn't a Guineas winning miler by any stretch of the imagination. I don't think he won a Guineas. I hope I'm not wrong there.
No, he didn't.
But so I'd be slightly concerned about it. He was incredibly impressive in what was probably an average race, but he couldn't do more than he wanted to do. Whether he's a Guineas winner, I personally I'd be surprised given his pedigree.
Okay, well, again, I'm going to just quickly nip a Twitter Q&A question in there. I think this works quite well, just putting them in the middle. Max Banner asks, which Aidan O'Brien 2-year-olds are best over a mile or a mile and a half that we're going to see next year? And have we got any that go under the radar? Quickly going to go to you, Jimmy. Who do you think's the best of Aidan's 2-year-olds looking forward?
Well, I was hugely impressed by that winner at Galway, Amadeo Modigliani.
Hooray, well done.
I mean, he absolutely bolted in. What he beat, I don't know, but... No, he's very exciting. They did say he could be anything. They're right. The sky's the limit with him, and obviously Gustav Klimt as well. I thought people rather overrated his victory in the superlative. I know he did well to come from off the pace, given he got balked just coming down the hill a bit. But no, that one does look very exciting.
Yeah, and if we put the Pentagon and Happily in there as well, there's so many. Tom, what's the standout for you? Is it that Amadeo Modigliani?
Yeah, I'm quite good at finding these ones before, a few weeks in advance, never being able to bat them. But I think we talked about this one a few weeks ago, didn't he, when he was third to Gustav Klimt on his debut, how they were very, very keen on this as a horse going forward. Now, this is the maiden that Capri, I think, won last year, the race at Galway. Whether he's a miler, I don't know. He could be. He could be. His pedigree is suggests that there's plenty in the family that are a mile, but he's also from the family of Alleluia, who won the Goodwood Cup. So to me, he's going to be a mile and a half horse all over. As I say, Capri won this race last year. I will be staggered if he's not running in derbies next year, Amadeo Modigliani.
Okay, cracking. Well, we talked about Expert Eye, so now we have to talk about the horse who finished third to him on debut, which is Barraquero. I'm a big fan of this horse. I'm not sure the race he won was that strong, but I thought he was really, really impressive. How good is Barraquero, Jimmy?
He's good, but he's not as exciting as the two we've just mentioned, Expert Eye and Amadeo Modigliani. I was disappointed with the favourite in that race in the Richmond Card Sharp. I mean, he travelled well, found nothing really, which is most unlike these Mark Johnston juveniles. A lot of them have been quite impressive last week, but he wasn't. He was disappointing. And Headway, I thought, was given a strange ride up the stands rail. That definitely wasn't where it wasn't where the best ground was at all. And I thought he ran well on conditions that he probably wouldn't have liked, considering. Yeah, no, Barraquer is a good horse, but there are others better than him.
Okay, Tom, was it good to see the Sangster Silks out in front again?
Yeah, you can't remember the Sangster Silks, can you, Maddie? That was my youth watching those ones.
I've done my, history, looking at history.
Keen racing historian.
Yeah.
YouTube catch-ups, watching Sadler's Wells and Golden Fleece and his pals, have you?
Well, I think we know each other pretty well by now. You've got me with that one. Yeah, were you impressed by Barraquer?
I think he did really well, didn't he? After a third run off the back of a maiden, I think he was probably had the best ground. I think he was racing up that far, nearest to the far side, which was probably a big help that day. But what can you do? He won a Group 2 easily on his third start. I'm with you. I thought he was pretty impressive, and who knows how far he can go. Whether he's a miler, I would doubt, considering his pedigree bore against Zebedee out of an Oasis Dream mare. I doubt very much he's a miler, but he could be a good sprinter for next year for sure.
Okay, finally, have we got any others we want to mention? Obviously, Bretton Rock sprung a surprise in that Lennox. I think that's when we all figured that the ground was a bit softer than we thought it was. We had Endless Time winning, Poet's Word as well. Tom, you're a big fan of him, aren't you?
Yeah, I love Poet's Word. Yeah, I think he's going to be a really good horse going. He's one of these ones that will probably be a top-class horse next year. Again, I mean, Michael Stouts spends ages getting these horses right, but I think he's very good. The other one you've got to mention is the Johnson 2-year-old, not the filly, the one that won on Saturday. Yeah, that one. That was a really fantastic time, given it was its debut. I think it was just a couple of seconds slower, or a couple of hundredths of a second slower than Battered took to win over the same course and distance a minute, half an hour later. And Battered's a pretty good horse. He's rated 95. To do that on your debut, you've got to be pretty good, and not many Mark Johnson horses start 5-1, 5-2 favourite in these sort of races, unless they've been showing a lot at home. He's not the type of trainer that sort of happens to. So I was pretty impressed with him. He's got a funny pedigree. I think he's by a horse called Far, who, Maddie, even you might remember Far.
Come on now, of course I do.
Not that far back. But he's like the other Johnson winner. They're cousins, funnily enough. They're both from the family of Dubai Millennium, and I thought he was really impressive. I mean, I don't know what the form's like. I don't know what the second's like, really. I don't think it was probably a great race, but just the way he did it and the time suggests he's got to be very good, DXB.
Okay, Jimmy, are you with Tom on that?
Far is proving to be quite a decent sire for
already.
Well, he hasn't had that many runners, but he's 2 from 5, I think, or something. So he's an exciting prospect. I actually thought that was quite a good maiden, that one that DXB won.
So you're disagreeing with Tom when Tom said he don't think it looks very good.
Well,
Jimmy probably knows the form of the second horse. I'm struggling, but Well,
I backed the second horse, so that's why I'm saying the winner's good. But also to make a note of the third from that race, Capital Flight, because that got badly bought running down the hill, and I think he was in last place at one stage. Ran on hands and heels to finish, pretty much to finish third. And he was an expensive purchase, I think over 100,000 guineas or something. So I can see him winning some races as well. I think that was a good little maiden, that.
Okay, poor old Binners. He's been silenced in the corner, locked away somewhere. We've not heard from you in a while, Binners. What was your any extras you want to mention? Any market movers for the future that you've spied for us?
Well, no, I'd like to mention a couple of horses. Dean Ivory's Lancelot Dulac. Delighted for Dean. He always seems like a lovely fellow when you see him at the races. He's been unlucky with a couple of horses, Tropics and La Brisa Breeze. So it was great to see Dean take the feature race on Saturday. And I was also delighted for my good friend, the Curragh Conjurer, Brendan Duke. He had a winner with Warm the Voice at Galway in the maiden the other day. I spoke to him this morning. He's yet to speak to the owners, Jim and Jackie Bolger, but he's hoping that the horse won't be too over-raced this season, won't be rushed, but definitely worth putting in your Racing Post tracker.
Okay, well, that was the next sort of little bit I was going to go on to, but perhaps we've covered it. Just to clarify, quick personal highlights and horses to go in the tracker. Jimmy, you first.
One horse I'd particularly like to mention is Grey Britain, who finished 4th.
Kevin Ryan's horse.
I think Kevin or John Ryan. I think it was
John Ryan.
Oh, yeah. John Ryan? My mistake.
Yeah, fourth in the mile and a quarter handicap for 3-year-olds. I thought he ran really well. I mean, he was brought down on towards the stand side by his jockey, who soon realised that was completely the wrong place to go and switched back more towards the far side, which was where the winner came from. But I think he was carrying a lot of weight. If you look how far clear he finished of the horses that went towards the stand side, it's amazing. So I think he ran really, really well. He's rated, I think, about 99. He's already won on the Rowley Mile.
Good 2-year-old, wasn't he? He had some good 2-year-old form.
He could be an interesting Cambridgeshire horse, perhaps, or something like that.
Oh, okay, very interesting. And a quick personal highlight of the week?
I loved watching Expert Iwan. That's one of the most impressive 2-year-old performances I've seen. I mean, it might not have been the best vintage stakes ever, but it's still a Group 2. I mean, there's some pretty good horses in behind him. He just made them look so ordinary. Right up there with the Kingmans and even the Frankels that I've seen in terms of 2-year-old performances. It was amazing.
Wow. Celebrated company for Expert Eye. Tom, one for the tracker and your personal highlight?
Definitely. Oh, God, I'm getting old. I can't remember the blimmin' name of any of these horses. Walton Street, that won the last race on Friday for Godolphin. He's a Dubawi horse that won ease down on his debut in an exceptionally good time, and he won from last to first on Friday. I think he's undoubtedly a group horse. He beat Londinium, who'd won earlier in the week, and he beat him hands down. I think he's potentially top class.
Okay, and a personal highlight quickly?
Crystal Ocean, undoubtedly. I like those Michael Stout's horses that are, weighted with, and everything's done so quickly these days, Maddie, as you know. We've got fast horses, fast food, all these kind of things that everyone's thrown at you so quickly.
We all know I'm a big fast food fan. now.
We and you know what I mean. And so it's nice to see
fast
horses.
Women, Tom.
Don't stop. God, I wish. It's nice to see horses that are taking their time with. It's how I grew up watching horses train. So I'm hoping Crystal Ocean and Poet's Word turning into top class horses when they're bred to come to their best rather than having to do it too soon.
Okay, we're just going to take a quick break and then we're going to quickly look forward to the Phoenix Stakes on Sunday.